Hello, guys. Welcome back to my channel. Star Wars has just released its fourth episode in the Acolyte series. Let's talk about it. We open with a previously on, explaining that the last episode spent 20 minutes doing a poor imitation of the Predator, only to end with a big force fart. And our main protagonist, Osha, impacting a tree, rendering her unconscious. This episode's open is Osha waking up. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I have woken up from being unconscious after an impact similar to that. And I will tell you three things. First off, your balance is kaput. Trying to straighten yourself out, something like that, not fun. Second of all, a lot of vomiting, not fun. Third of all, she is going to be having some of that tinnitus ringing in her ears for some time. But given that this is Star Wars and she has survived the impact of a starship crashing from orbit into a planet, she gets up and brushes it off like it's no big deal, only to fall over a fallen Jedi. This brings her attention to the saber battle currently in progress. And I have to say, this saber fight, it's not bad. It's not prequel level, it's not original trilogy level, but it is a damn sight better than anything on the sequel trilogy or any of Filoni's other live action projects. It's nothing to write home about, but it does the basic job it's supposed to do. It conveys that this warrior is powerful, he is deadly, and he has the ability to take down Jedi as he pleases. And the one major advantage he has is he's somehow able to short out lightsabers. Now, in the Star Wars universe, there are four major lightsaber resistant materials. Those are Frick, Cortosis, Beskar, and Obelisk was the carapace of horseshoe crab like creatures of the same name. They were lightsaber resistant but did not shatter the beam as has been depicted in this series. Another lightsaber material was Frick. It was a very rare alloy, and it was also lightsaber resistant, less so than the Obelisk carapace. The difference is that with Frick, you can push through it with a lightsaber. It is resistant, it is not completely lightsaber proof. And what we've seen of Beskar, we can eliminate that possibility altogether, given its rampant use in the Mandalorian series. That leaves the only other Legends material that can completely resist lightsabers and short out the beam, and that is Cortosis, a very, very rare material that is also very difficult to work. I wouldn't be surprised if that helmet and gauntlet that he is wearing cost more than a Venator class Star Destroyer. He takes out two Jedi's lightsabers using the Cortosis helmet and gauntlet, rendering those two Jedi combat ineffective. Then Yord steps in and holds his own for about 5 seconds before the mysterious warrior strikes at his leg. And I want you to go back and watch that strike. It is not a light Form 2 tap that Dooku performs on Obi-Wan Kenobi. That is a full power slash similar to the slash Dooku did on Anakin on his arm, but this time on Yord's leg. But for whatever reason, it doesn't register as a slash that should have left a burning stump. It registers as a tap that just inconveniences and injures. After a few moments, the other two Jedi's lightsabers roar back into life and they try to re-engage him again. And the choreography here looks very much like a triple threat match in wrestling, where you have one person engaging, one person waiting. And it feels very staid and it feels very stale, and it's more glaring when you're in amongst them and not amongst the trees. And the trees here are doing a lot to save this choreography. The warrior takes out both of those Jedi and moves to finish off Yord, only for Osha to use the stun gun on him, and it barely scratches him. He doesn't even register that he's been hit. You see the pulse impact him. You see it go over his body, and this may be the kurtosis working again because it doesn't allow that type of damage. Yord shouted her to run, and we cut to May, who is inside the hut of the Wookiee master, trapped, and she is looking for a way out. She immediately goes around the entirety of that cabin looking for the Wookiee's lightsaber, which she finds. We then cut back to Osha is running through the forest. The Sith warrior, because I'm going to call him a Sith warrior for now, hot on her heels, until he stops and throws his lightsaber in that classic lightsaber throw that we all loved from Star Wars The Old Republic and the other video games, where they throw the lightsaber, it goes out, and then they pull it back to themselves. Brilliant. I love it. I wish they did it in the other films and not in this, because it just makes me wish it was in the other films. It really does. And just before the blade is about to take Osha's head, Saul moves in and saves her. Somehow. But this lightsaber has cut through the trees, and I think there was a VFX error that they left in, because the trees should have fallen down and not up and over. If you're watching the scene and you see the trees move that way, I think that's an error they just left in because they didn't have enough time or budget to fix it. Saul pushes Osha into Yord, who somehow caught up with them, and orders them to the ship. Specifically, he says, "Civilian to the ship." And I have no idea how Yord is okay. He took a saber strike to the leg and he isn't limping. In fact, he is keeping pace with May, who has no injuries whatsoever. We get back to Saul, who doesn't know who he's fighting. He has Jedi training, a Jedi weapon, and in red too. Obviously, he's a Mandalorian. Take a look at that helmet. It is so obvious. I mean, really, does he not know what a Sith looks like? Did he fail history in Jedi school? We cut back to May as she is making a break for it, only for the Padawan to drop kick May in the face like Bob Holly on a jobber. And they roll on the ground in some BJJ combat. And I would like to know how a Padawan is beating an assassin who has physically handled 2 Master Jedi, managing to kill one and escape the other. She throws her back into the cabin, and they continue to wrestle until she gets one cuff on her wrist and proceeds to give her her Miranda rights before fully cuffing her, which leads to more ground and pound, where she, the Padawan that is, hits the family button and May hulks up, kicking her through the wall. We cut back to Saul and the Sith, and it's a very Bushido style fight. And you can tell he's not aiming strikes to kill, he's aiming away. It's a bit annoying. I'm pretty sure there's YouTubers on there that have done better saber fights. In fact, I think there's the entire Saber Federation could have choreographed a better fight than this. Saul demands to see his face, and the Sith says, "And let you read my thoughts?" That's not Magneto's helmet. That is not what the... Are your mental defenses this weak that you need a helmet to bolster your defenses? That makes no sense. Then he asks, what kind of master doesn't show his face to his pupil? To which the warrior responds, "You tell me," implicating Saul in some duplicity, before Saul gets visibly angry and moves into attack. We cut back to the Padawan versus May fight, and the Padawan is still holding her own before May grabs one of her daggers and attempts to open up her leg with a slash. She screams, and we cut back to Yord and Osha, who hear the scream. Osha wants to go back, but Yord refuses, saying he was given orders to take her back to the ship, and to the ship he's going to take her. We cut back to Saul versus the Sith warrior, And we have some more poorly timed choreography here before he kicks Sol away and vanishes. Back Yord and Osha, he explains that the Sith doesn't follow the rules of combat and that, quote, he gets into your head and stays there, end quote. This is a Sith technique to manipulate people? Or is it the witch's technique to manipulate people? We don't know, because there's a specific Sith one that's name I can't remember off the top of my head that sounds like Makashi. In my head, it sounds like Makashi, but it's not. It's something different. Where a Sith will get into your head using verbal intimidation and manipulation and twist you to the dark side while you're fighting them. It's something that Vader attempted against Luke and the Emperor attempted against Luke. Osha says that her mother could do that, so we saw that in episode 3 that yes, she can, and they realize they have lost the Basil once again. Back with the May fight, and it ends with a Padawan victory, only for the Sith warrior to arrive and attack them. The Padawan gets out her saber, and the Sith warrior shorts it out using his armor. Luckily for her, she stole the saber that May stole from Kelnaka and is now using Form 4 and holding her own against the Sith warrior. This warrior just killed 5 fully trained knights, making one retreat, and has held his own against a master Jedi. Yet this one Padawan is holding her own against him. May tries to escape during the battle, and unfortunately, she doesn't get very far. The Sith warrior manages to catch up to her. She tries to beg for her life, only for him to cut her cuffs and then attempt to kill her. And when you see this guy running, it looks like he's literally flying, like he's Count Dooku from the 2003 Clone Wars animated series. And at the last minute, just as the Sith warrior is going to run her through, who should arrive to save her but Master Sol? And I have one question I'm sure all of you are asking at the same time. Why cut the cuffs off May and then try to kill her? Why not just try to kill her instead of messing with the cuffs? Sol pulls him back and almost onto Jackie's saber, that is the Padawan, I've finally got her name. They hold their own against him, and during the fight, May runs, wise of her to do so. The Sith giving chase and the Jedi right behind him. He closes on her, force pushing her into a large rock, and then tries to kill her again, only for Sol and Jackie to save her one more time. We cut back to Osha, and she is being called by something. It sounds like her sister's voice from when they were children. She convinces Yord to follow them, as she is going to draw the bugs that are attracted to light with them using her flashlight. You can quite clearly see her activate the torch, shine it at the bugs, and then hold it up like she is rallying the troops and making a charge. Keep that in mind for this next part. She has just attracted the bugs, and in the episode previously, they attack immediately. They don't hang around and they don't wait. And Jackie has died. She took 3 lightsaber shots, one through the middle of the chest and then on either side in a nice little triangle. But before she dies, she manages to get the Sith's helmet off, and it's the twink that they let go for aiding and abetting in the murder of a Jedi. And as Osha arrives, she gets a bit, teary-eyed because she was trying to hit on that underage Padawan for a while. Sol grits out, "She was a child." Space Twink says, "You brought her," which, he absolutely did bring a child into a war zone like this. He pulls out the old schoolboy tactic of pointing behind him and saying, "What is that?" Only for this version to be him pointing to the side and going, "Hello." Sol turns and he throws his cape over him and over the Jedi and grabs May. He is genuinely surprised that May didn't know it was him. Sol pulls the cape off and moves to attack him from behind, and Space Twink is surprised. He says, not very Jedi-like. Dude, you're a Sith Lord. Any tactic used against you is good. He moves the lightsaber to May's throat, but does not activate it. Sol drops his saber and asks, "What are you?" Did he seriously fail history? Is that what we're doing here? He's obviously a Mandalorian. I mean, just look at the helmet. How many other people do you know with helmets that'll attack the Jedi? Come on, keep up. The Sith responds, "I have no name, but the Jedi, like you, call me Sith." And he doesn't have a single reaction at all because he doesn't know what a Sith is. And Sol replies, "Why risk discovery?" To which the Sith warrior responds, "I did wear a mask. That is not what he means, and you know it." It's not a bad line, but it's just, ooh. So Saul asks, "What do you want?" And he responds, "Freedom. Freedom to use my power the way I like without having to answer to Jedi like you." Oh, okay. You want the freedom to use your power in any way you see fit against anyone you see fit without any consequences. That's just evil, dude. Just evil. He then goes on to say he wants a pupil, an acolyte. But May's failure revealed him, and now he has to kill them all. According to him, he's following the rules, and that he didn't make them, the Jedi did, allowing him to appear maybe that he's not a Sith warrior at all and could be someone else. That opens the door for it here. Okay, we'll keep that in mind as this series moves forward. Yord jumps in for the save and gets a beat down and killed for it with a classic action movie neck snap. May once again attempts to run, but this time Osha stuns her. Sol roars and attacks, going hand to hand and winning. He retrieves his lightsaber, activates it, and moves to strike Darth Twink the Effeminate down, only for Osha to pull him out of it. Twink tries to manipulate Osha by asking if she really trusts her master after everything he's done. Nice bit of manipulation there, and it leaves it open to maybe the events of episode 3 are more May's memory than the actual history of the events. Sol tells her that Twink's mind is twisted by darkness. Osha attaches Pip to the Twink's back, and he is taken by the bugs that should have arrived the same time Osha did. They take him up and carry him off. Osha asks what the Twink meant by what the Jedi do with their darkness, and why shouldn't she trust him. He promises to tell her everything, only for May to stun him. Then we cut to a establishing shot of the mountains and scenery, and then back to the twins. They're on a plateau of some kind, and they talk for a while. May tries to convince Osha that she's been brainwashed by the Jedi, and embraces her tightly. Osha breaks the embrace, tries to bring her in by grappling her down, only for May to knock her out. May then looks at her sister, and then up, and then back to her sister again. She has Yord's lightsaber and gives herself a haircut, almost cutting her face off at the same time. So now she looks just like Osha, if not for the giant white forehead tattoo that she gained in episode 3 that we saw in episode 1. Darth Twink the Effeminate escapes the bugs, leaving Osha's droid behind, only for Basil to find it and pocket it. Sol wakes up to see May in disguise as Osha and takes her back to the ship, not noticing anything different. Why Sol is an idiot. Darth Twink the Effeminate then finds Osha and monologues to himself like a Shakespearean soliloquy. Not bad writing, I have to say. And the show ends here. I give this a solid 2.5 stars. It's a marked improvement upon last week, but the mistakes in the choreography and the very small amount of evolution of this story, the small amount of continuation of this story, means there's not a lot here, a lot of flash, but no real substance. If you like my review, please like, comment, and subscribe. I will catch you guys somewhere down that road. Big Nate, out.